The invitation sat on her kitchen counter like a loaded gun. Ava Bennett stared at the cream-colored envelope, her hands trembling. Ethan Cole, the man who'd gutted her heart and walked away without looking back, wanted her at his wedding, not as a guest of honor, as a trophy. A reminder of everything she'd failed to become while he'd climbed higher, richer, more successful. She should burn it, forget him, move on. But standing in her cramped apartment after another double shift, wearing scrubs that smelled like antiseptic and exhaustion, Ava felt something darker than hurt coil in her chest. He wanted to parade his victory? Fine. She'd show him what he'd really lost. If you want to see how Ava turned humiliation into power, stay until the end. Hit that like button and comment which city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The envelope had been sitting there for 3 days. Ava knew because she'd counted. 72 hours of walking past it, pretending it didn't exist while it radiated poison from her kitchen counter. She'd tried shoving it in a drawer. That lasted 6 hours before she pulled it back out, smoothing the wrinkled edges like some kind of pathetic artifact she couldn't quite throw away. The return address was embossed. Expensive. Of course it was. Ethan Cole didn't do anything halfway, except love her, apparently. She poured herself a glass of wine, cheap stuff from the corner store, the kind that came with a screw top and zero pretension, the kind Ethan used to wrinkle his nose at during the early days when she'd thought his criticism was sophisticated instead of cruel. The glass was halfway to her lips when her phone buzzed. Maya. Did you open it yet? Maya. Don't leave me hanging. I need details. Maya. Ava. Answer me or I'm coming over. Ava typed back with one hand. Not yet. 3 dots appeared immediately. Then, what are you waiting for? Permission? Rip that Band-Aid off already. Easy for Maya to say. Maya hadn't spent 2 years building a life with someone who'd looked her in the eye one Tuesday morning and said, I can't do this anymore. You're not enough. Not pretty enough. Not polished enough. Not wealthy enough. Ethan hadn't used those exact words, but Ava had heard them anyway. She'd heard them in the silence that followed, in the way he'd already packed his bags before the conversation started, in the forwarding address he'd left on a post-it note stuck to her bathroom mirror, some penthouse in the city she couldn't afford to visit, let alone live in. She drained the wine glass and picked up the envelope. The paper was thick, quality stock. Her name was handwritten in calligraphy that probably cost more than her electricity bill. Ms. Ava Bennett. Not even her full first name, just the version Ethan had preferred because he thought Avalon sounded too whimsical, too childish for the woman he wanted her to become. She should have known then. Should have seen the red flags lined up like highway markers pointing toward disaster. She slid her finger under the flap. The card inside was worse than she'd imagined. Cream and gold. Elegant. The kind of wedding invitation that got featured in magazines alongside articles about power couples and society weddings. Mr. Ethan Cole and Miss Vanessa Harrington request the honor of your presence. Vanessa Harrington. Ava knew that name. Everyone knew that name. Vanessa Harrington was old money wrapped in designer labels and charity galas. She was everything Ethan had wanted Ava to be, and everything Ava had never stood a chance of becoming. The wedding was in 3 weeks. Black tie. Some estate in the countryside that probably had its own Wikipedia page. And there, at the bottom, handwritten in what she recognized as Ethan's precise script, Ava, I hope you'll come. It would mean a lot. Her phone buzzed again. Maya. Well? Ava took a photo of the invitation and sent it. The response was immediate. Are you kidding me right now? Then, that audacity. Then, I'm coming over. Don't move. Don't do anything stupid. Ava set the phone down and stared at the invitation. It would mean a lot. Translation. I want you to see how much better I'm doing without you. I want you to witness my upgrade. I want you to know, definitively, that you were replaceable. She felt it then, that familiar ache that lived somewhere behind her ribs, the one that woke her up at 3 a.m. sometimes, whispering all the ways she'd failed, all the ways she wasn't enough. The knock on her door came 20 minutes later. Maya didn't wait for an answer, just used the spare key Ava had given her and barged in carrying Thai takeout and a bottle of something that definitely didn't have a screw top. Okay, Maya said, setting everything on the coffee table with the efficiency of someone who'd done this before. We're going to eat, drink, and plot. Plot what? Your response. Maya pulled out 2 wine glasses, real ones, the kind Ava saved for occasions that never came. Because you're sure as hell not going to that wedding. I wasn't planning to. Good, Maya poured generously. Because that man doesn't deserve the satisfaction of seeing you squirm. Ava took the glass. The wine was better than anything she'd tasted in months. I'm not squirming. You've been staring at that invitation for 3 days. How did you… Please, I know you. Maya settled onto the couch, crossing her legs. You've been spiraling, probably making lists of all the ways you weren't good enough for him, probably wondering what Vanessa has that you don't. Ava didn't answer. She didn't need to. Maya's expression softened. Ava, listen to me. You dodged a bullet. That man is a walking red flag factory. He wanted you to change everything about yourself to fit his idea of success, and when you wouldn't, he found someone who was already packaged the way he wanted. I know. Do you? Because you're looking at that invitation like it's a report card you failed. Ava sank into the couch cushions. They were worn, secondhand. She'd bought them from a thrift store when she'd first moved into this apartment, the one she could barely afford even with the nursing shifts she picked up every week. He used to say I had potential, she said quietly, that I could be someone if I just tried harder, dressed better, networked more, stopped being so ordinary. Maya's jaw tightened. And you believed him? Sometimes. Ava traced the rim of her glass. I mean, look at me. Look at where I am, still in the same apartment, same job, same everything. And he's… She gestured at the invitation. He's marrying someone with a trust fund and a last name that opens doors. So what? You're a nurse. You save lives. That's not ordinary, Ava. That's extraordinary. Yeah, well, it doesn't look extraordinary on paper. Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You're not actually thinking about going. Ava shook her head. Of course not. But even as she said it, something bitter curled in her stomach. Because part of her, the part that still woke up at 3 a.m., wanted to go. Wanted to prove something. Wanted to walk into that wedding and show Ethan that she'd become someone worth looking at. The problem was, she hadn't. She was still exactly who she'd been when he left. Maybe a little more tired, a little more defeated, but fundamentally unchanged. Maya must have seen it in her face. Don't do it, she said. Don't give him that power. I'm not. Ava, I said I'm not going. Ava stood, needing to move. She walked to the window, looking out at the city lights that never quite reached her building. I'm not that pathetic. But she felt pathetic. Standing there in yoga pants and an old t-shirt, drinking wine that cost more than she usually spent on a week's groceries, staring at an invitation to a life she'd never have. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Unknown. Is this Ava Bennett? She frowned. Who's this? Unknown. A friend. I heard about the invitation. I might have a solution to your problem. Ava's heart kicked. What problem? Unknown. The wedding, the ex, the feeling that you've been erased. She stared at the screen. Maya, did I what? Give someone my number? What? No. Why? Ava showed her the phone. Maya's eyes narrowed. That's creepy. Block them. But Ava didn't. Instead, she typed, How do you know about the invitation? The response came fast. I know a lot of things, including how to make Ethan Cole regret ever letting you go. Interested? Block them. Maya reached for the phone. This is how horror movies start. Ava pulled it away. Who are you? Unknown. Someone who sees potential, real potential, not the kind that comes with conditions. Unknown. Meet me tomorrow night, 8 p.m. The address below. Come alone, or don't come at all. Your choice. An address followed. Some restaurant downtown Ava had never heard of. Absolutely not, Maya said. You're not meeting some random stalker in a dark restaurant. It's not stalking if I agree to go. Ava, what do I have to lose? The words came out sharper than she meant. Seriously, Maya, what's the worst that could happen? I get murdered? At this point, it might be an improvement. Don't talk like that. I'm joking. No, you're not. Maya's voice went soft. Dangerous. You're spiraling, and when you spiral, you make stupid decisions. Ava looked at the invitation still sitting on the counter, cream and gold, mocking her. Maybe I need a stupid decision, she said. That night after Maya left, reluctantly, with multiple threats about checking in every hour, Ava lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Sleep felt impossible. Her mind kept circling back to the text, to the invitation, to Ethan's handwritten note. It would mean a lot. She grabbed her phone and pulled up Ethan's Instagram. She'd blocked him months ago, but curiosity was a disease and she was apparently terminal. His feed was exactly what she expected. Pictures of him and Vanessa at charity events, gallery openings, weekend getaways to places Ava couldn't pronounce. Vanessa was beautiful in that effortless way that came from good genetics and better skincare. She wore linen like it was haute couture. She smiled like someone who'd never worried about rent. The most recent post was a photo of them on a yacht. The caption, 3 weeks until forever with my best decision. Ava closed the app and threw her phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor. The screen didn't crack, because of course it didn't. Even her dramatic gestures were failures. She got up and retrieved it. The text message was still there. Tomorrow night, 8 p.m. What did she have to lose? Everything, probably. But then again, she'd already lost everything that mattered when Ethan walked out. What was left was just logistics, bills and shifts, and the slow erosion of hope. She typed out a response before she could talk herself out of it. I'll be there. The next evening, Ava stood outside the restaurant at 7:55 p.m., wondering if this was how people felt before making genuinely terrible life choices. The place was upscale, subtle. The kind of restaurant that didn't need a sign because if you had to ask, you didn't belong there. Warm light spilled from the windows. Inside, she could see people in designer clothes having quiet conversations over wine that probably cost more than her car payment. She'd changed outfits 6 times before settling on a black dress she'd bought for a job interview 2 years ago. It was simple, professional. The kind of thing that said, I'm trying but not too hard. Looking at the restaurant, she realized it wasn't enough. Nothing she owned was enough for this. She pulled out her phone to text Maya, to say this was stupid, she was leaving, forget everything, when the door opened. A man stepped out, tall, dark suit that fit like it had been made for him because it probably had. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and eyes that found her immediately like he'd been waiting. Ava Bennett? His voice was low, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to rise to command attention. She nodded because words felt difficult suddenly. He smiled, just slightly. I'm Luca Moretti. Thank you for coming. He held the door open, an invitation, a test. Ava looked at him, really looked. There was something in his expression that wasn't pity, wasn't judgment, just interest, like she was a puzzle he wanted to solve. I almost didn't, she admitted. I know. He gestured inside. That's why I'm impressed you did. She walked through the door. The restaurant was quieter than she expected. Intimate. A hostess appeared immediately, leading them to a table in the back corner. Private. Away from the other diners. Luca waited until she was seated before sitting across from her. His movements were precise. Practiced. You're probably wondering why I asked you here, he said. That's one way to put it. He smiled again. Warmer this time. Fair. Let me start with the truth. I know about your ex, I know about the wedding invitation, and I know you're trying to decide whether to go. How could you possibly? I make it my business to know things. He leaned forward slightly. Ethan Cole is a small man who measures his worth in dollar signs and social capital. He invited you because he wants to feel superior. He wants confirmation that leaving you was the right choice. Ava's throat tightened. And you know this how? Because I've met 100 Ethan Coles. They're predictable, shallow, easy to read. Then you know I shouldn't go. Actually, Luca said, I think you should. She blinked. What? But not the way you're imagining. He signaled the waiter, who appeared with a bottle of wine Ava didn't recognize. Luca poured 2 glasses with the ease of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Right now, you're thinking about going to that wedding to prove something, to show Ethan you're fine, that you've moved on, that you're happy. I am happy. Are you? The question hung between them. Ava took a sip of wine to avoid answering. It was good. Better than good. The kind of wine that probably had a waiting list. Luca didn't push. He just watched her with those dark eyes that seemed to see too much. "What do you want?" she finally asked. "To make you an offer." "What kind of offer?" "The kind that changes everything." He set his glass down. "Go to that wedding, Ava. But don't go as the woman Ethan discarded. Go as someone he never imagined you could become." "I don't understand." "You will." Luca's smile was sharp now, dangerous. "Give me 3 weeks. That's all I need. 3 weeks to show you what you're capable of. To transform you into the woman who walks into that wedding and makes Ethan Cole realize he made the worst mistake of his life." Ava laughed. It came out bitter. "You want to give me a makeover? Like some rom-com?" "I want to give you power." The word hit differently than she expected. "Power," she repeated. "The kind that doesn't come from clothes or money. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are and refusing to apologize for it." Luca leaned back. "Ethan wanted you to change to fit his world. I'm offering to help you discover the world you were meant for all along. And what do you get out of this? The satisfaction of watching a small man realize he lost something irreplaceable." Ava studied him. There was something else there, something he wasn't saying. But the wine was good, and the restaurant was beautiful, and for the first time in 3 days, maybe 3 months, she felt something other than numb. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you said yes when you could have said no. Because you're here even though every logical bone in your body probably told you to stay home. Because you're angry, Ava. And anger, when channeled correctly, is the most powerful fuel there is." He was right. She was angry. Furious, actually. At Ethan for leaving. At Vanessa for existing. At herself for caring. 3 weeks, Luca said. "That's all I'm asking. After that, you can walk into that wedding on my arm and show them all exactly what they're looking at." "On your arm?" "You'll need a date. Someone who commands attention. Someone who makes Ethan question everything he thought he knew about power and status." Luca's smile turned predatory. "I happen to be available." Ava should have said no, should have walked out, should have called Maya and laughed about the crazy rich guy who'd tried to recruit her for some revenge scheme. Instead, she heard herself say, "What happens after the wedding?" "Whatever you want." That's not an answer. It's the only answer that matters. Luca extended his hand across the table. "Do we have a deal?" Ava looked at his hand, strong, steady, the kind of hand that didn't shake or hesitate. She thought about the invitation on her counter, about Ethan's handwritten note, about Vanessa's effortless smile and the yacht and the life she'd never have. She thought about being ordinary, and then she stopped thinking and took his hand. "Deal." Luca's grip was firm, final. "Good. We start tomorrow." "Start what?" "Everything." The next morning came too early and with too much regret. Ava stared at her phone at the address Luca had sent at midnight. Some building in the part of the city where rent wasn't measured in hundreds but thousands. The kind of neighborhood where doormen wore better suits than she owned. "Maya, please tell me you didn't agree to anything stupid." Maya. "Ava, I swear if you don't answer me," she typed back. "I'm fine, I'll explain later." Maya. "That's what people say before they end up on a true crime podcast." Ava almost laughed. Almost. But her hands were shaking too hard as she pulled clothes from her closet, rejecting everything. Too casual, too formal, too obviously trying. Nothing felt right because nothing was right. She was about to walk into whatever Luca Moretti's world was, and she had no idea what that world demanded. She settled on jeans and a blazer, safe, forgettable. The address led her to a building that looked like it had been designed by someone who thought glass and steel could solve all of humanity's problems. The lobby had marble floors and a chandelier that probably cost more than her nursing degree. A woman at the front desk looked up as Ava approached. Young, polished, the kind of pretty that came with a skincare routine and genetic lottery winnings. "I'm here to see Luca Moretti," Ava said, hating how uncertain she sounded. The woman's expression didn't change. "Name?" "Ava Bennett." She typed something, nodded. 23rd floor, he's expecting you." The elevator was the kind that moved so smoothly you couldn't tell it was moving at all. Ava watched the numbers climb and tried to remember how to breathe like a normal person. The doors opened directly into a penthouse. Not a hallway, not a landing, just straight into someone's home. The space was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Minimalist furniture that probably had names she couldn't pronounce. Art on the walls that looked important in that way art looked when it cost 6 figures. Luca stood by the windows, phone to his ear. He saw her and held up one finger. Wait. She waited. What else was she going to do? No, he said into the phone. Tell them the offer stands until Friday. After that, I move on. A pause. I don't care what they think is reasonable. Those are my terms. He hung up without saying goodbye and turned to face her fully. He looked different in daylight, less dangerous, more calculated. Same expensive suit, but she could see it better now, the precision of it, the way it moved with him like a second skin. You came, he said. You sound surprised. Most people change their minds in the morning. He walked toward her, and she noticed he moved quietly, deliberately, like someone who'd learned early that presence mattered more than noise. Coffee? Sure. He led her to the kitchen. It was the kind of kitchen people photographed for magazines. All marble and clean lines and appliances that probably required a manual. He made coffee like he did everything else, efficiently, without wasted motion. Cream? Sugar? Black's fine. He handed her a cup. Their fingers brushed. His were warm. So, she said, because someone needed to break the silence. What does everything look like? Luca smiled. Direct? I like that. He gestured toward the dining table. Sit. Let's talk. She sat. The chair was more comfortable than it looked. Luca remained standing, leaning against the counter. The wedding is 3 weeks away. That gives us 21 days to prepare. Prepare what exactly? You. He took a sip of his coffee. Right now, you walk into a room and apologize for existing. You make yourself small, forgettable. That ends today. Ava bristled. I don't. You do. You've been doing it so long you don't even notice anymore. His voice wasn't cruel, just factual. Ethan trained you to shrink, to question yourself, to believe that taking up space was selfish. She wanted to argue, couldn't. Here's what's going to happen, Luca continued. Over the next 3 weeks, you're going to learn how to carry yourself like someone who belongs anywhere, how to speak without hedging, how to look at someone like Ethan Cole and make him feel exactly as irrelevant as he made you feel. And you're going to teach me this, me and others. Others? I have people, experts. He set his cup down. Tomorrow you meet with a stylist, someone who understands that fashion isn't about following trends. It's about armor. She'll teach you what to wear and why it matters. I can dress myself. Can you? He tilted his head. When's the last time you wore something that made you feel powerful instead of appropriate? Ava opened her mouth, closed it. Exactly. Luca pushed off the counter. You'll also work with a trainer, not for weight loss, don't give me that look, for posture, presence. The way you move changes the way people perceive you. This sounds expensive. It is. I can't afford. I'm not asking you to. He moved closer. This is my investment, Ava. All you have to invest is time and trust. Why? The question burst out sharper than she meant. Why are you doing this? You don't know me. You don't owe me anything. So what's the real reason? Luca was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out his phone, scrolled, and handed it to her. The screen showed a photo. Younger Luca, maybe college age, standing next to a girl. Pretty, laughing. They looked happy. Her name was Sophia, he said quietly. My sister. Was? She killed herself 6 years ago. His voice stayed level, but something flickered behind his eyes. She was dating someone like Ethan, someone who made her believe she wasn't enough, who took someone vibrant and turned her into a ghost. By the time we realized what was happening, it was too late. Ava's throat went tight. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just understand why this matters to me. He took the phone back. I see men like Ethan every day in my world. They're everywhere. And I can't do anything about most of them. But when I heard about your situation, I saw an opportunity. To do what? To watch one of them lose. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Call it therapy, call it revenge, call it whatever you want, but I'm offering you a chance to walk into that wedding and make Ethan Cole feel small for once in his privileged life. Ava studied him. There was grief there, buried deep but visible if you knew how to look. And underneath that, anger, the same kind she felt. Okay, she said. Okay? I'm in. Whatever this is, I'm in. Something shifted in his expression. Relief, maybe? Good. Then we start now. Now? Right now. He pulled out his phone again and made a call. She's ready. Bring everything. He hung up and looked at Ava. The stylist is downstairs. She's been waiting. You were that sure I'd agree? No, but I was prepared either way. 10 minutes later, a woman swept into the penthouse like she owned it. She was probably 50, with white hair cut sharp at her shoulders and glasses that looked like they cost more than Ava's laptop. She carried a garment bag and moved with the confidence of someone who'd spent decades telling people what to wear. Ava Bennett, she said, not asking. I'm Christine. Let's see what we're working with. Ava stood there feeling suddenly exposed. Christine circled her once, twice. Her expression gave nothing away. Finally, she said, You've got good bones, decent proportions, but you dress like you're hiding. I'm not. Black blazer, basic jeans, ballet flats. Christine ticked them off. Safe choices. Boring choices. You want to blend in. What's wrong with that? Nothing, if your goal is to be furniture. Christine unzipped the garment bag. But Luca tells me you're preparing for war, and you don't win wars by blending in. She pulled out a dress, deep emerald green, simple cut, but the fabric looked expensive, the kind that moved like water. Try this. Ava took it reluctantly. Where do I? Bedroom, second door on the left. Christine waved her away. Don't take all day. The bedroom was as pristine as the rest of the apartment. Ava changed quickly, avoiding her reflection until the dress was on. When she finally looked, she barely recognized herself. The color made her skin glow. The cut somehow made her look taller, more defined. It wasn't revealing, but it wasn't hiding anything either. She walked back out. Christine's face stayed neutral, but Luca straightened slightly. Better, Christine said. Much better. Now walk to the window and back. What? Walk. I need to see how you move. Ava walked. It felt stupid, self-conscious. Stop shuffling, Christine said. Shoulders back, chin up. You're not apologizing for existing. Ava tried again. Better. Again. They spent the next hour like that. Christine pulling out different outfits, making Ava walk in each one, critiquing everything from her posture to the way she held her hands. It was exhausting. You default to making yourself smaller, Christine said finally. When you walk, you curve your shoulders in. When you sit, you cross your arms. You're protecting yourself constantly. Maybe I need protection. Maybe you did. Not anymore. Christine packed up the clothes she'd brought. I'm leaving these here. Practice walking in each one. Get comfortable. By the time I see you next week, I want you moving like you own every room you enter. After Christine left, Ava collapsed onto the couch. Her feet hurt. Her brain hurt. Luca sat across from her. Brutal, isn't she? That's one word for it. She's also the best. Her clients include people you'd recognize, people who pay her 6 figures to tell them what to wear. And she's helping me because? Because I asked her to. Luca leaned forward. That's how this works, Ava. I have resources, connections. I'm using them for you. Why do I feel like there's a catch? No catch. Just expectations. His eyes held hers. I'm investing time and money into this. I expect you to take it seriously. Show up. Do the work. Don't waste either of our time. I won't. Good. He stood. Tomorrow, 7 a.m. There's a gym 2 blocks from here. Meet my trainer. His name is Marcus. He's going to teach you how to stand like you're not waiting for someone to knock you down. Ava groaned. 7 a.m. You're a nurse. You've done early shifts. That doesn't mean I like them. He almost smiled. Get used to uncomfortable. That's where growth happens. She left an hour later with a bag full of clothes she hadn't paid for and a schedule that made her want to crawl back into bed. Maya called before she even made it home. Okay, Maya said without preamble. Spill everything. Ava told her, The penthouse, the stylist, the plan. Maya was quiet for a long moment. Then, this guy is either a saint or a serial killer. Helpful. I'm serious. Nobody does this without wanting something. He told me why. His sister. I heard that part. I'm just saying, be careful. Men like that, with money like that, they don't do charity. It's not charity, it's... Ava paused at a red light. I don't know what it is, but I'm doing it anyway. Because you want to make Ethan regret leaving you. Yes. Ava, don't. Ava's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Don't tell me this is a bad idea. Don't tell me I should just move on. I'm tired of moving on. I'm tired of being the one who got left behind while Ethan lives his best life with someone better. You're not... I am, though. I am worse than Vanessa. I'm worse than whatever he wanted me to be, and maybe that's fine. Maybe I don't need to be better. But I need him to see that leaving me was still a mistake. Maya sighed. Okay, but I'm checking in every day. And if this Luca guy gets weird, you bail. Promise me. Promise. 7 a.m. came too fast. Ava showed up at the gym in leggings and an old t-shirt, feeling underdressed when she saw the place. It wasn't a commercial gym. It was private, small, the kind where people paid monthly fees that could cover her rent. Marcus was waiting by the front desk. Tall, built like he'd been carved from stone, with kind eyes that didn't match the rest of him. Ava? She nodded. Good. Let's go. He led her to a back room, mats on the floor, mirrors on every wall. Luca says you need presence training. I guess. You guess. He handed her a water bottle. That's the first problem. You're uncertain, hesitant, even in how you speak. I'm just hedging. I guess, maybe sort of. You qualify everything. He positioned himself in front of the mirror. Stand next to me. She did. Look at your posture. Ava looked. Shoulders curved forward, head slightly down, taking up as little space as possible. Now, watch. Marcus straightened, shoulders back, chest open, chin level. He didn't get bigger, but he looked bigger, more solid, more there. Try it, he said. Ava adjusted her posture. It felt wrong, too exposed. Uncomfortable? Yeah, good. That means you're doing it right. He walked around her, adjusting her shoulders, her spine. You've spent years protecting yourself, making yourself small. That's a survival instinct, but you're not in survival mode anymore. Aren't I? He met her eyes in the mirror. Are you? She didn't answer. They worked for 2 hours. Posture drills, walking exercises, learning to make eye contact without flinching. By the end, Ava's muscles ached in places she didn't know she had muscles. Same time tomorrow, Marcus said as she left. Tomorrow? Every day until the wedding. Luca's orders. Ava wanted to argue, didn't have the energy. The days blurred together after that. Early mornings with Marcus, afternoons with Christine, who showed up twice more with new clothes and new criticisms. Evenings at Luca's penthouse, where he'd drill her on conversation tactics, how to deflect questions, how to command attention without demanding it, how to make silence work for her instead of against her. You apologize too much, he said one evening. They were sitting in his living room, glasses of wine neither of them was really drinking. Someone bumps into you, you say sorry. Someone interrupts you, you say sorry. You walk into a room, you practically apologize for existing. I'm just being polite. You're being small. He set his glass down. There's a difference between courtesy and self-erasure. You've crossed that line so many times you don't know where it is anymore. So what do I do? Stop saying sorry unless you've actually done something wrong. He leaned back. Try it now. Say something without qualifying it. Like what? Anything. Make a statement. No hedging. Ava thought. I don't like this wine. Good. Why? It's too dry. Better. But you're still hesitant. Say it like you mean it. This wine is too dry. Again, with conviction. This wine is terrible. Luca smiled. There it is. That's the voice I want to hear at the wedding. 2 weeks in, Ava started to feel different. Not better, exactly. Just different. She stood straighter, spoke clearer, caught herself apologizing, and stopped mid-word. Maya noticed. You're walking weird, she said during one of their coffee meetups. I'm walking correctly. Same thing. Maya studied her. You look good, though. Tired, but good. I am tired. Ava had been working double shifts to make up for the time she was spending with Luca's team. Her bank account was screaming. Her body was screaming louder. Is it worth it? Ava thought about the wedding invitation, still on her counter, about Ethan's handwriting, about Vanessa's yacht smile. Ask me in a week. The final week arrived faster than Ava expected. Christine showed up with what she called the dress. She wouldn't let Ava see it until everything else was perfect. Hair appointment first, makeup consultation, nails, the full routine that Ava had only ever seen in movies. You're going to hate this part, Christine warned, but beauty is warfare, and war isn't comfortable. She was right. The hairstylist yanked and pulled and used tools that felt like torture devices. The makeup artist poked at her face while lecturing about bone structure and contouring. The nail technician seemed personally offended by the state of Ava's cuticles. But when it was done, when Ava finally looked in the mirror, she stopped breathing. The woman looking back at her was a stranger, polished, elegant, the kind of woman who walked into rooms and made people turn around. Now the dress, Christine said. It was black, simple, but the fabric moved like liquid shadow. The cut was perfect. Not too revealing, not too modest, just exactly right. Ava put it on. Christine actually smiled. There you are. There who is. The woman you were always supposed to be. Christine adjusted the shoulders slightly. Ethan Cole had no idea what he was looking at. That's his loss. Luca saw her that evening. He'd insisted on a final walkthrough, making sure everything was perfect. She walked into his penthouse wearing the dress, the heels Christine had chosen, every piece in place. He looked up from his phone, stopped mid-sentence in whatever conversation he was having, just stared. Well? Ava asked, and her voice didn't shake. You'll destroy him, Luca said quietly. That's the plan. No. He stood, walking closer. I mean, you'll actually destroy him. One look at you and Ethan Cole is going to realize he threw away something priceless. Ava felt heat rise in her cheeks. It's just a dress. It's not the dress. It's you. He stopped a few feet away. You're standing differently, speaking differently. You take up space now. You don't apologize for it. You taught me that. I just showed you what was already there. His eyes held hers. The question is, what are you going to do with it? The wedding was in 2 days. Ava barely slept. She kept playing scenarios in her head. Ethan seeing her, Vanessa's reaction, the moment when everyone realized she wasn't the forgotten ex anymore. Her phone buzzed at midnight. Luca. Are you ready? She typed back, I don't know. Good. Confidence is a performance. Uncertainty is honest. Use both. How? Walk in certain. When doubt hits, remember why you're there. Not to prove anything to Ethan. To prove something to yourself. Ava stared at the message, then typed, Thank you for all of this. Thank you for trusting me. Get some sleep. Saturday changes everything. Saturday. The word felt heavy, final. Ava set her phone down and looked at the dress hanging in her closet, the shoes waiting beneath it, the invitation on her counter that had started everything. She thought about the woman she'd been 3 weeks ago, broken, small, convinced she wasn't enough. She thought about the woman in the mirror now, straight spine, clear eyes, someone who looked like she belonged anywhere. Somewhere between those two versions, the real Ava existed, and she was about to find out which one was stronger. The morning of the wedding, Ava threw up twice. She stood in her bathroom, gripping the sink, staring at her reflection and wondering what the hell she was doing. All the training, all the preparation, all of Christine's lectures about armor and Marcus's drills about presence, none of it stopped her hands from shaking. Her phone buzzed. Maya. Maya. You don't have to do this. Maya. Seriously, you can still back out. Nobody would blame you. Ava typed back with trembling fingers. I'd blame me. Maya. Then go make him regret everything. Maya. But if you need an escape plan, call me. I'll fake an emergency. Ava almost laughed. Almost. Instead, she stripped out of her pajamas and stepped into the shower, letting the hot water beat against her shoulders until her breathing evened out. By the time she got out, the shaking had mostly stopped. Christine arrived at noon with a makeup artist and hairstylist in tow. They descended on Ava's apartment like a highly trained tactical unit, transforming her bathroom into a makeshift salon. "No coffee," Christine said, taking the mug from Ava's hand. "It'll stain your teeth. Water only." "I need caffeine." "You need to look perfect. Water." The next 3 hours were a blur of brushes and heat tools, and Christine's running commentary on everything from foundation shade to the proper way to sit in a car without wrinkling the dress. "Remember," Christine said, applying the final touch of lipstick, "you're not going there to hide. You're going there to be seen. Own it." Ava nodded because words felt impossible. When they finished, she stood in front of her full-length mirror, the cheap one she'd bought at Target, and barely recognized herself. The black dress hugged every curve without clinging. The heels added 3 inches and somehow made her spine straighter. Her hair fell in waves that looked effortless but had taken an hour to create. Her makeup was subtle but striking, emphasizing features she'd never paid attention to before. She looked expensive, untouchable, like someone who belonged in Ethan's world, like someone who'd outgrown it. "Don't cry," Christine warned. "You'll ruin the mascara." Ava blinked hard. "I'm not crying." "Good, because Luca's downstairs and he's on a schedule." Luca, right, her date, her shield, her whatever he was. Ava grabbed her clutch, black, simple, borrowed from Christine's collection, and headed downstairs. Her building didn't have an elevator, so she took the stairs carefully, praying she wouldn't trip and break an ankle before this whole thing even started. The car waiting outside wasn't a car. It was a statement. Black, sleek, the kind that had a driver and tinted windows, and probably cost more than she made in a year. Luca stood beside it, and Ava's breath caught. He wore a tuxedo like he'd been born in one. Perfect fit, sharp lines, the kind of formal wear that made everything else look like a costume. His dark hair was styled back, his jaw clean-shaven. He looked dangerous, powerful. He looked like exactly the kind of man who could walk into Ethan Cole's wedding and make everyone forget the groom existed. When he saw her, something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or something deeper. "Ava," he said quietly. She walked toward him, concentrating on not falling in the heels. "Is this okay?" Okay doesn't begin to cover it. He opened the car door for her. "You look like you could end civilizations." "That's a little dramatic." "Wait until we get there. You'll see what I mean." The drive took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of Ava sitting in leather seats that probably cost more than her couch, watching the city give way to countryside, trying to remember how to breathe like a normal person. Luca sat across from her, scrolling through his phone with the ease of someone who did this every day. Went to weddings, wore tuxedos, existed in a world where everything was effortless and expensive. "You're nervous," he said without looking up. "I'm terrified." "Good." He set his phone down. "Fear means you care, means this matters. What if I freeze? What if I see him and just fall apart?" "You won't. You don't know that." "I do." His eyes met hers. "Because you've spent 3 weeks training for this exact moment. Because you're stronger than you think. And because I'll be right there the entire time." Ava swallowed hard. "What if it's not enough? What if I'm still not—" "Stop." His voice wasn't harsh, just firm. "You're enough. You've always been enough. Ethan was the one who wasn't." The words hit something deep, something that had been broken for longer than 3 weeks. The estate appeared through the trees like something out of a period drama. Rolling lawns, a mansion that had probably been in Vanessa's family for generations, gardens that looked professionally maintained, valet's parking cars that cost 6 figures. "Jesus," Ava whispered. "Breathe," Luca said. "You belong here just as much as anyone else." "I really don't." "Then fake it. That's what half these people are doing anyway." The car stopped at the entrance. A valet opened Ava's door. She stepped out, wobbling slightly in the heels before finding her balance. Luca appeared beside her instantly, offering his arm. "Ready?" No, she wasn't ready. She'd never be ready, but she took his arm anyway. They walked toward the entrance, and Ava felt every eye turn. Whispers followed them like a wake. She caught fragments of conversation. "Who's that? I've never seen her before. Look at that dress. Is that Luca Moretti?" Luca's name carried weight. She could feel it in the way people straightened when they saw him, the way conversations paused. He moved through the crowd like he owned it, and everyone seemed to agree. "You know these people?" Ava asked quietly. "Some of them. The ones who matter know me." They entered the main hall. It was decorated within an inch of its life. White flowers everywhere, crystal chandeliers, a string quartet playing something classical and forgettable. Guests milled around in designer clothes, holding champagne flutes, laughing at jokes that probably weren't funny. And there, across the room, standing near the bar, was Ethan. Ava's heart stopped. He looked the same perfectly styled hair, same expensive suit, same confident posture that she'd once found attractive and now just found arrogant. He was talking to someone, some older man in a bow tie, but his gaze swept the room periodically, checking who was there, who was watching, making sure his wedding was the event he'd wanted it to be. His eyes landed on Ava. For a second, nothing happened. He looked right at her without recognition, just another guest in a nice dress. Then his brain caught up. His expression shifted, confusion, then shock, then something that might have been fear. "There it is," Luca murmured. "That's the look we came for." Ethan excused himself from the conversation and started toward them. His walk was different now, less confident, more urgent. "Ava?" He stopped a few feet away, staring like she was a ghost. "What are you doing here?" She smiled. "Not too big, just enough." "You invited me." "I didn't think you'd actually come." Surprise. His eyes flicked to Luca, then back to her. "Who's this?" "Luca Moretti." Luca extended his hand. His grip was probably firm enough to make a point. "And you must be the groom." "Ethan Cole." He shook, but his attention stayed on Ava. "You look different." "Thank you." "No, I mean really different. Did you—" He stopped himself, clearly thinking better of whatever he was about to say. "I'm glad you came. I wasn't sure you'd want to." "Why wouldn't I want to celebrate your happiness?" The words came out smooth, natural, exactly like Luca had taught her. Ethan's jaw tightened slightly. "Right. Of course." He glanced at Luca again. "How do you two know each other?" "We met recently," Luca said. "Ava's an extraordinary woman. I'm lucky she agreed to accompany me." The possessive edge in his voice was subtle but deliberate. Ava felt it. Ethan definitely heard it. "I see." Ethan shifted his weight. "Well, I should get back to— Vanessa's probably looking for me, but we should talk later, catch up." "Maybe," Ava said. He walked away. Not quite fleeing, but close. Ava exhaled slowly. That was perfect. Luca guided her toward the bar. "You were perfect. Calm. Controlled. You made him work for your attention and gave him nothing." "I feel like I'm going to throw up again." "Don't, you'll ruin the dress." He ordered 2 glasses of champagne. "Besides, that was just the opening act. The real performance is still ahead." The ceremony was scheduled for 3 o'clock in the garden. Guests filed outside, finding seats in rows of white chairs facing an arch covered in roses. Ava and Luca took seats in the back, far enough to observe, close enough to be seen. The music started. Everyone stood. Vanessa appeared at the end of the aisle, and Ava had to admit, she was beautiful. Blonde hair, perfectly styled, a dress that probably cost more than a car. She walked with the confidence of someone who'd never questioned her worth. She was everything Ethan had wanted, everything Ava had never been. The ceremony was traditional, boring. The officiant droned on about love and commitment while Ava watched Ethan's face. He smiled at the right moments, said his vows with perfect sincerity, kissed Vanessa when instructed. But twice during the ceremony his eyes found Ava in the crowd, and both times she held his gaze without flinching. "He can't stop looking at you," Luca whispered. "Is that good?" "It's better than good. It's devastating." The reception was held in a massive tent behind the mansion, round tables covered in white linens, more flowers than seemed reasonable, a dance floor that looked like glass, a band setting up on a stage. Ava and Luca found their assigned table. The card read Table 12. They were seated with strangers, other guests who looked vaguely important but didn't seem to know Ethan well. probably Vanessa's side of the family. A woman across from them smiled. I'm Eleanor, Vanessa's cousin. You two look wonderful together. Thank you, Luca said smoothly. We try. How do you know the bride and groom? Business acquaintance of Ethan's, Luca lied without hesitation. Ava's known him longer. Eleanor's eyes lit up with curiosity. Oh, how did you meet? Ava took a sip of champagne to buy time. College. We dated for a while. You're the ex? Eleanor's voice dropped to a scandalous whisper. Oh my, you're much prettier than he described. He talked about me? Well, Vanessa mentioned you once or twice. Nothing terrible, just that Ethan had a serious relationship before her. Someone who wasn't quite the right fit. Not quite the right fit. The words stung less than they would have 3 weeks ago, but they still landed. Luca's hand found Ava's under the table. A brief squeeze. Grounding. Sometimes things don't work out, Ava said evenly. I'm happy for them. Eleanor looked between her and Luca. Well, it seems like things worked out fine for you too. Dinner was served. Multiple courses that Ava barely tasted. She was too aware of everything. The other guests watching. Ethan and Vanessa at the head table, playing the perfect couple. Luca beside her, present but not overwhelming. Between the main course and dessert, Ethan approached their table. Mind if I borrow Ava for a minute? He asked, looking at Luca. That's up to Ava, Luca said. Ethan turned to her. Just a quick conversation. For old times' sake. Ava considered saying no, considered making him wait, but curiosity won. Sure, she said, standing. Luca's expression stayed neutral, but his eyes held a warning. Don't let him get in your head. Ethan led her away from the tent, toward the gardens where the ceremony had been held, far enough from the crowd that they could talk without being overheard. I can't believe you're here, he said finally. You invited me. I know, but... He ran a hand through his hair, messing up the perfect styling. I didn't expect you to show up looking like that. With someone like him. Like what? Like you don't need me anymore. The admission hung in the air. Ava crossed her arms. I don't need you. I haven't needed you for a while now. Then why come? Because you invited me. Because I wanted to see if I'd feel anything when I saw you married to someone else. She met his eyes. Turns out I don't. He flinched. I never meant to hurt you. Yes, you did. The words came out calm, factual. You wanted me to hurt so you'd feel less guilty about leaving. You wanted me to fall apart so you could tell yourself you made the right choice. That's not... It is. Ava stepped closer. You needed me to be broken, to be less. Because if I was fine, if I thrived without you, then leaving me wasn't an upgrade. It was just a choice. And choices can be wrong. Ethan's jaw tightened. Vanessa is perfect for me. Then why are you out here talking to me instead of in there with your wife? He didn't have an answer. Luca Moretti, Ethan said instead. Do you have any idea who he is, what he does? I know enough. He's dangerous, Ava, connected. The kind of man you don't want to get involved with. She almost laughed. You spent 2 years trying to change me into someone I wasn't. You told me I wasn't good enough, wasn't polished enough, wasn't worth the effort. And now you're giving me relationship advice? I'm trying to protect you. I don't need your protection. I don't need anything from you. The music from the tent changed, something slow, romantic. The first dance, probably. Ethan glanced back. I should go. Yes, you should. He started to walk away, then stopped. I did love you. Once. I want you to know that. Once wasn't enough. He left. Ava stood there alone in the garden, breathing in the night air, feeling lighter than she had in months. When she returned to the tent, Luca was waiting near their table. Well? He asked. He's scared, Ava said. He saw me and realized I'm not who he left behind, and it terrified him. Good. The band struck up another song. Couples moved on to the dance floor. Vanessa and Ethan swayed together, picture perfect. Luca extended his hand. Dance with me. I'm not a great dancer. Neither am I. We'll figure it out. She took his hand. He led her to the floor, finding a spot near the edge. Close enough to be seen, far enough to have space. His hand settled on her waist, hers on his shoulder. They moved together, not quite in rhythm with the music, but it didn't matter. "You did well tonight," he said quietly. "I almost lost it when he said Vanessa was perfect for him." "But you didn't. You held your ground." Ava looked up at him. "Thank you for all of this. I couldn't have done it without you." "You could have. I just helped you see it faster." They danced through the song, then another. Ava became aware of people watching, whispering. She caught Ethan's gaze across the floor. He was still dancing with Vanessa, but his attention was divided. "He's watching you," Luca murmured. "Let him watch." The evening wore on. More dancing, more champagne, toasts that went too long. At some point, Vanessa approached them. She was even more beautiful up close. Perfect skin, perfect smile, perfect everything. "You must be Ava," she said warmly. "Ethan mentioned you were here. I'm so glad you could make it." "Congratulations," Ava said. "Beautiful ceremony." "Thank you." Vanessa glanced at Luca. "And you are?" "Luca Moretti." Recognition flickered. "The Luca Moretti? I've heard of you. My father's mentioned your name in business circles." "All good things, I hope." "Mostly." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. She turned back to Ava. "Ethan told me you two dated in college." "We did. He speaks highly of you, says you were very sweet." Sweet. The word felt like an insult wrapped in politeness. "That's kind of him," Ava said. "Well, I hope there are no hard feelings. I know breakups can be difficult, but it seems like you've moved on beautifully." Her gaze flicked to Luca, assessing. "I have," Ava said. "Thank you." Vanessa excused herself, gliding away to greet other guests. Luca watched her go. "She's marking territory," he said. "What?" "That whole conversation. She came over to assess the threat, to make sure you know she won." "Did she? Win?" Luca looked at Ava. "Not even close. She married a man who spent his wedding day watching his ex-girlfriend. You won the second you walked through the door." The evening finally wound down around midnight. Guests started leaving. Ava and Luca made their exit quietly, slipping away without grand goodbyes. The car was waiting, the same driver, the same leather seats. Ava collapsed into them, exhausted. "I can't believe we did that." "We?" Luca smiled. "You did that. I just provided transportation." "You provided a lot more than that." They drove in comfortable silence for a while. The countryside gave way to city lights. Ava watched them blur past, her mind replaying the evening. Ethan's face when he saw her, the dance, Vanessa's territorial smile. "What happens now?" she asked. Luca looked at her. "What do you want to happen?" "I don't know. I feel like I just climbed a mountain and now I'm standing at the top with no idea where to go next." "That's because you were so focused on reaching the summit, you forgot to plan for after." "Helpful." "I'm serious." He leaned forward slightly. "You spent 3 weeks preparing for tonight. But tonight was just a moment, Ava. What matters is what you do with tomorrow." She thought about that. About her apartment, her job, her life that was waiting exactly where she'd left it. "I don't want to go back to who I was before," she said quietly. "Then don't. It's not that simple." "It is exactly that simple. You proved tonight that you can be whoever you decide to be. The question is, who do you want to be?" Ava didn't have an answer. Not yet. The car pulled up to her building. Luca walked her to the door like a real date ending a real evening. "Thank you," she said again, because the words still didn't feel like enough. "You're welcome." He hesitated, then said, "This doesn't have to end here." "What do you mean?" "I told you I'd help you transform, help you become the woman you were meant to be. Tonight proved you're capable of it, but capability isn't the same as permanence." His eyes held hers. "If you want to make this permanent, if you want to build a life that matches who you were tonight, I can help with that too." "Why would you do that?" "Because I started this to watch Ethan lose, but somewhere along the way it became about watching you win." He stepped back. "Think about it. No pressure, but the offer stands." He left before she could respond. Ava climbed the stairs to her apartment, her feet screaming in the heels. Inside, she kicked them off and collapsed on her couch. Her phone buzzed immediately. "Maya, tell me everything right now." Ava smiled and called her instead. Maya picked up on the first ring. Are you alive? Are you okay? Did he try anything weird? Ava laughed, sinking deeper into the couch cushions. I'm fine. It was actually incredible. Define incredible, because my incredible and your incredible are sometimes very different things. Ethan's face when he saw me. Ava closed her eyes, replaying it. Maya, he looked like I'd slapped him, like he couldn't process what he was seeing. Good. That pompous jerk deserves to choke on his regret. A pause. Wait, what about Luca? How was he? Perfect. Too perfect, actually. He knew exactly what to say, when to say it. He made Ethan look like a kid playing dress-up. So what happens now? Ava opened her eyes, staring at the ceiling with its water stain she could never afford to fix. That's the question, isn't it? Did Luca say anything? He offered to keep helping me, said tonight was just the beginning. Maya was quiet for a beat. And you said? Nothing. He left before I could answer. Ava, I know what you're going to say. Do you? Because I'm not even sure what I'm going to say yet. Maya exhaled loudly. Actually, yes, I do. Be careful. This whole thing, this transformation or whatever, it was about Ethan, about proving something. But Ethan's married now. The wedding's over. So what's Luca's angle if it's not about revenge anymore? Maybe he doesn't have one. Everyone has an angle. Ava didn't argue because Maya wasn't wrong. People didn't invest time and money without expecting something back. The question was what Luca wanted that he wasn't saying. They talked for another hour, Maya demanding every detail from the dress to the dancing to Vanessa's territorial smile. By the time they hung up, it was past 2 a.m. and Ava's brain felt like static. She should sleep. Had to work a shift tomorrow. Today, technically. But sleep felt impossible. Instead, she found herself looking through her phone. Instagram. Ethan's account, which she'd unblocked sometime during the drive home without really thinking about it. He'd posted. Of course he had. A photo of him and Vanessa cutting the cake. Caption. Best day of my life with my best decision. The comments were full of congratulations, heart emojis. People Ava didn't know celebrating a marriage she'd watched implode in real time, at least in Ethan's head. She scrolled further, found a photo someone had tagged him in, a group shot from the reception. And there, in the background, barely visible, but definitely present, her and Luca on the dance floor. The comments on that one were different. Who's the woman in black? That's Ethan's ex. Showed up looking like that. Iconic. Luca Moretti at a wedding? That's random. Wait, is that his girlfriend? She's gorgeous. Ava closed the app before she could spiral. Social media was a trap, and she'd spent too many nights falling into it. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Unknown. Except she recognized it now. Luca. Can't sleep either? She typed back. How did you know? Luca. Lucky guess, or the fact that tonight was designed to rewire your entire sense of self. Sleep tends to be difficult after that. Avia. Speaking from experience? Luca. Always. She stared at the message, then typed. What you said before you left, about this not having to end, what did you mean? The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Luca. Meet me for breakfast. 9 a.m. I'll explain everything. Ava. I have work at noon. Luca. Then we'll make it quick. Same place as our first meeting. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Right, like that was possible. But she sent back, okay. Ava got maybe 3 hours of sleep before her alarm went off. She dragged herself through a shower, threw on scrubs since she'd be heading straight to work after, and caught a bus downtown. The restaurant looked different in daylight. Less intimidating. More like a normal place where normal people had normal breakfasts. Luca was already there, sitting at the same corner table. He wore jeans and a black sweater. Casual. It was the first time she'd seen him in anything that didn't cost more than her rent. You look tired, he said as she sat down. You look annoyingly well rested. He smiled. I'm used to functioning on no sleep. Comes with the territory. A waiter appeared, poured coffee without asking. Ava wrapped her hands around the cup, grateful for the warmth. So, she said, explain. Luca leaned back. Last night was about Ethan, about showing him what he lost. But here's the truth. You don't need Ethan's validation. You never did. The fact that you walked into that wedding and owned it proves you're capable of so much more than you've been settling for. I'm a nurse. I help people. That's not settling. I didn't say your job was settling. I said your life was. He took a sip of coffee. You work double shifts to afford an apartment you hate. You spend your time off recovering from exhaustion instead of doing things you actually enjoy. You've built a life around survival instead of living. The words stung because they were accurate. And you're offering what exactly? A different life? I'm offering resources, connections, opportunities you wouldn't have access to otherwise. He set his cup down. You want to stay a nurse? Great. I know hospital administrators who'd kill to have someone with your skills. Better position, better pay, better hours. You want to do something else entirely? I can open doors. Why? Because I can. Because watching you transform over the last 3 weeks reminded me why I built the life I have in the first place. His expression softened slightly. I told you about Sophia. What I didn't tell you was that after she died, I spent years angry at the world, at myself, at every man like her boyfriend who walked around destroying people and calling it ambition. And helping me is what? Therapy? Maybe. Or maybe it's just doing something that matters. He leaned forward. I make money, Ava. A lot of it. From investments, from businesses, from knowing which risks to take. But money's just numbers after a while. What matters is what you do with it. So I'm a charity project. You're a person who deserves better than what life's given you so far. If that makes you a charity project, then yes. He didn't look away. But I prefer to think of it as an investment in someone who's finally ready to stop apologizing for existing. The waiter came back. They ordered omelets and toast and orange juice that tasted fresh squeezed. There's a catch, Ava said. There has to be. No catch. But there are conditions. Such as? You have to actually want this, not for Ethan, not to prove something to anyone else. For you. Luca broke off a piece of toast. Because if you're doing this to fill some void he left, you'll just end up hollow in a different way. Ava thought about that, about why she'd agreed to the wedding plan in the first place. Revenge had been part of it, sure, but underneath that was something else, a desire to feel like she mattered, like she was worth seeing. I don't know what I want, she admitted. Then figure it out. Take some time. Think about what your life would look like if you weren't constantly trying to survive it. He pulled out his phone, typed something, and set it down. I'm leaving town for a week. Business in Chicago. When I get back, we'll talk. You can tell me yes or no then. And if I say no, then we part as friends, and you go back to your life with the confidence you earned last night. No harm, no pressure. It sounded too easy. Nothing in life was ever that easy. But Ava found herself nodding. Okay, 1 week. 1 week. Work was a disaster. Ava couldn't focus. She mixed up patient charts twice, forgot to log medication once, and nearly started an IV in the wrong arm before catching herself. Her supervisor pulled her aside during a break. You okay? You seem off today. Just tired, late night. Well, wake up. We need you sharp. Ava nodded, gulped down more coffee, and tried to get her head back in the game. But her mind kept drifting. To the wedding. To Luca's offer. To the idea that her life could be something other than this endless cycle of work and exhaustion. Maya showed up at her apartment that evening with Thai food and wine. Intervention time, she announced, pushing past Ava. You've been weird since the wedding, and we're going to talk about it. They sat on the couch, eating pad thai straight from the containers. Luca wants to keep helping me, Ava said between bites. Define helping. Better job, better opportunities. Better life, basically. Maya set her fork down. And what does he want in return? Nothing, supposedly. He says it's an investment. People don't invest without expecting returns. That's what I said. And he told me to take a week to think about it, decide if I actually want it. Maya was quiet, chewing thoughtfully. Do you trust him? I don't know, maybe? He hasn't lied to me yet. That you know of. That I know of. Ava conceded. Okay, real talk. Maya turned to face her fully. Setting aside Luca and his mysterious benefactor routine, what do you want? Not what Ethan wanted you to be, not what you think you should want. What do you actually want for your life? Ava opened her mouth, closed it, The question felt enormous. I want to stop being tired all the time, she said finally. I want to wake up and not immediately calculate how many hours until I can sleep again. I want to do something that feels like it matters instead of just keeping my head above water. So nursing, isn't it? Nursing could be it. If I wasn't doing it in survival mode. If I had time to actually care instead of just process patients like widgets. Ava set her food down. I went into nursing because I wanted to help people, but somewhere along the way it became about rent checks and insurance and paying down student loans. That's called being an adult. I know, but it doesn't have to be only that, does it? Maya smiled sadly. No, it doesn't. They finished eating in comfortable silence. After Maya left, Ava sat alone in her apartment, looking around at the life she'd built. The secondhand furniture. The walls she'd never bothered to decorate because it felt temporary even after 2 years. The stack of bills on the counter she was always one emergency away from not being able to pay. She pulled out her phone and opened her photos. Found the ones from the wedding that people had tagged her in. There she was. Elegant, confident, beautiful in a way she'd never seen herself before. That woman in the photos felt like a stranger, but also felt like someone she could become if she just stopped being scared of wanting more. Her phone buzzed. Ethan. Ethan. Can we talk? Ava stared at the message. 3 weeks ago, seeing his name on her screen would have sent her into a tailspin. Now it just felt annoying. About what? Ethan. Last night. I've been thinking about what you said. And? Ethan. You were right. I wanted you to fail. Needed you to, maybe, so I could feel better about leaving. Okay. Ethan. That's it? Just okay? Ava. What do you want me to say, Ethan? That I forgive you? That we're good now? Ethan. I want you to understand why I did it. Ava. I understand perfectly. You're a coward who couldn't handle the work of actually loving someone, so you found someone who came pre-packaged the way you wanted. Ethan. That's not fair. Ava. Neither was telling me I wasn't enough, but here we are. Ethan. Vanessa isn't you. Ava. I know. She's better for you. You said so yourself. Ethan. Is she though? Ava's thumb hovered over the keyboard. Part of her wanted to engage, to ask what he meant, to maybe hear him admit that leaving her was a mistake. But the smarter part, the part that had walked into his wedding and owned it, knew better. Ava. This conversation is over. Congratulations on your marriage. Don't contact me again. She blocked his number before he could respond. It felt good. Final. Like closing a door that should have been locked months ago. The week passed slowly. Ava worked her shifts, came home exhausted, and spent her evenings thinking about Luca's question. What did she want? She made lists, scratched them out, made new ones. She wanted financial stability without working herself to death. She wanted to help people without losing herself in the process. She wanted to look in the mirror and recognize the person looking back. By the time Luca texted that he was back in town, Ava had an answer. They met at his penthouse. He answered the door in slacks and a button-down, sleeves rolled up. Working from home, apparently. Come in, he said. Coffee? Sure. He made it while she stood by the windows, looking out at the city. From up here, everything looked small, manageable. Like problems that seemed enormous from ground level were just details in a bigger picture. Luca handed her a cup and joined her at the window. So, have you decided? I have questions first. Shoot. What happens if I say yes and then realize I've made a mistake? Can I walk away? Any time, no strings. And you really don't want anything in return? He turned to face her. I want to watch you succeed. I want to know that helping you mattered. If that counts as wanting something, then yes. Otherwise, no. Why me, though? You could help anyone. Why invest all this time and money in someone you barely know? Luca was quiet for a moment. Because when I met you, you reminded me of Sophia. Not in looks or personality, but in the way you'd been convinced you were small, forgettable, not worth the effort, and I couldn't save her from believing that. But maybe I can help you stop believing it. The honesty in his voice was almost painful. Okay, Ava said. Okay, what? Okay, I'm in. Whatever this is, whatever you're offering, I'm saying yes. Something shifted in his expression. Relief. Satisfaction. Maybe both. Good. Then let's get started. Right now? Why wait? He pulled out his phone. First thing, we're getting you out of that apartment. I own a building downtown, 2-bedroom units, better neighborhood. Actually has working heat. I can't afford. You're not paying market rate. You're paying what you pay now. Consider it part of the investment. Ava wanted to argue, wanted to insist she didn't need charity, but the thought of leaving her cramped apartment with its broken AC and questionable plumbing was too tempting. Okay, she said again. Second, your job. You said you wanted to help people without burning out. I know the chief of staff at Memorial Hospital, best trauma center in the state. Better hours, better pay, better resources. I can get you an interview. Just like that? Just like that. He scrolled through his phone. But here's the thing. You still have to earn it. I can open the door, but you have to walk through it. I can do that. I know you can. That's why I'm offering. They spent the next 2 hours going through details. The apartment lease, the hospital interview, resources for continuing education if she wanted to specialize. Luca had thought of everything. There's one more thing, he said as she was getting ready to leave. What? My world, the business side, the social side. It's complicated. There are people who will see you with me and make assumptions. Some of them won't be kind. What kind of assumptions? That you're with me for money, for status, for whatever transactional reason they can imagine, because that's how they think. His expression hardened slightly. I need you to be ready for that, to not let it get in your head. I spent 2 years with Ethan telling me I wasn't good enough. I think I can handle some judgmental strangers. It's different when it's public. When people you don't know have opinions about your life. Then I'll deal with it. He studied her face. You really have changed. You noticed? Hard not to. He walked her to the door. The apartment will be ready in a week. The interview is scheduled for Friday. Show up early. Be yourself. You'll be fine. Thank you for all of this. Thank me by not wasting it. Ava left the penthouse feeling like she was walking on air, or maybe just walking different, straighter, more solid. Her phone rang before she even made it to the elevator. Maya. Did you say yes? How did you? I know you. So, did you? Yeah, I did. Maya squealed. Tell me everything. Ava told her about the apartment, the job interview, all of it. Maya listened without interrupting, which was rare. This is huge, Maya said when Ava finished, like life-changing huge. I know. Are you scared? Terrified. Good. If you weren't scared, I'd be worried you weren't taking it seriously. The interview was Friday at 10 a.m. Ava showed up at 9:30 wearing a dress Christine had left in her closet. Professional, polished. The kind of thing that said she belonged in a hospital administrator's office. The chief of staff was a woman in her 50s named Dr. Patricia Chen. She had sharp eyes and a handshake that meant business. Luca speaks highly of you, she said, gesturing for Ava to sit. He's been very generous. He's a lot of things. Generous is one of them when he wants to be. Dr. Chen pulled up Ava's resume on her computer. Your credentials are solid, good grades, good recommendations. You've been at City General for 2 years. Why leave? Ava had prepared for this. I want to work somewhere that values quality of care over quantity of patients. Somewhere I can grow instead of just survive. City General is survival mode. I get that. Dr. Chen leaned back. Memorial is different. We have better resources, better support staff. But we also have higher expectations. You'd be working trauma. It's intense, high pressure, not for everyone. I'm not looking for easy. I'm looking for meaningful. Good answer. Dr. Chen closed the laptop. I'll be honest. Luca's recommendation gets you in the door. But if you can't do the work, you're out. I don't care who vouched for you. I understand. Do you? Because I've seen a lot of people come through here thinking connections are enough. They're not. You have to earn your place every single day. I'm ready to do that. Dr. Chen studied her for a long moment. Then she smiled. You start Monday. Welcome to Memorial. Ava walked out of that office in a daze. She'd done it. Actually done it. She called Luca from the parking lot. How'd it go? He asked. I got it. I start Monday. I knew you would. You sound very confident for someone who wasn't in the room. I know talent when I see it. Dr. Chen does too. Ava leaned against her car. This is really happening. This is really happening. How does it feel? Like I'm about to jump off a cliff and I'm not sure if I can fly. Then it's a good thing you've got a parachute. Do I? You've got you. That's all the parachute you need. The new apartment smelled like paint and possibility. Ava stood in the empty living room, her few boxes stacked near the door, and tried to process that this was hers. 2 bedrooms, actual closet space, windows that overlooked the city instead of a brick wall, hardwood floors that didn't creak, a kitchen with appliances that looked like they'd been made this decade. Maya was sprawled on the floor, having helped carry everything up. This is insane, you know that, right? This whole thing is insane. I'm aware. Good. Just checking that you haven't completely lost touch with reality. Ava sat down next to her. Do you think I'm making a mistake? With the apartment? No. With Luca? Maya rolled onto her side, propping her head up. Jury's still out. Helpful. I'm serious. He's done all these amazing things for you. The apartment, the job, the whole transformation thing. But what happens when he decides he's done? When the novelty wears off? Then I still have the apartment and the job. Do you? The question hung there. Ava wanted to say yes, wanted to believe that everything she'd gained was permanent. But Maya had a point. What happened when Luca moved on to his next project? His next charitable impulse? I guess I'll find out, Ava said finally. Her first day at Memorial was chaos wrapped in adrenaline. The trauma unit moved fast. Patients coming in from car accidents, construction incidents, everything urgent and critical. Ava barely had time to think, which was good because thinking meant doubting, and she couldn't afford doubt here. Dr. Chen appeared midway through her shift. How are you holding up? Barely, Ava admitted, but I'm holding. Good. That's all I need. She moved to leave, then paused. You're doing fine, Bennett. Better than fine, actually. Keep it up. The validation felt like water in a desert. Ava hadn't realized how thirsty she'd been for someone to recognize her competence without qualifying it with criticism. She got home that night at 8, exhausted but in a different way than before. This was earned exhaustion, purposeful, not the grinding survival fatigue of working double shifts just to make rent. Luca texted around 9. How was day 1? Ava, brutal. Amazing, still processing. Luca, that means you did well? Ava, how would you know? Luca, because Dr. Chen called me, said you were a natural. Ava stared at her phone. She called you? Luca, I asked her to keep me updated. Is that a problem? It should have been, should have felt invasive. But instead it just felt like someone actually cared whether she succeeded or failed. Ava, no, not a problem, just unexpected. Luca, get used to unexpected, it's better than predictable. The weeks started blending together, work, sleep, repeat. But it was different now. Ava had time to breathe, time to actually learn instead of just react. Her coworkers were good, professional. They respected competence, and she'd proven she had it. Maya came over most weekends. They'd cook dinner together, actual dinner, not just takeout. And Ava would tell stories about trauma cases while carefully avoiding HIPAA violations. You seem happy, Maya said one Saturday, chopping vegetables. Like, actually happy. Not just okay. I think I am. When's the last time you thought about Ethan? Ava paused, considering. Honestly, I don't remember. A week ago, maybe? Good. He doesn't deserve real estate in your head. Maya scraped the vegetables into a pan. What about Luca? What about him? Do you think about him? More than she wanted to admit. Sometimes? And nothing. He's been distant lately. Still checks in, but less frequently. I think he's busy with work stuff. Or he's giving you space to figure out who you are without him hovering. That was probably true. Luca had pulled back gradually over the past month. Not disappearing, just creating distance. Letting Ava stand on her own. It should have felt like abandonment. Instead, it felt like trust. 2 months after starting at Memorial, Ava got called into Dr. Chen's office. Sit, Dr. Chen said, not looking up from her computer. Ava sat, running through everything she might have done wrong. Missed diagnosis, protocol violation, some complaint she didn't know about. You've been here 8 weeks, Dr. Chen said, still typing. How do you think you're doing? Good, I think. I hope you're doing excellent. Dr. Chen finally looked up. Your patient outcomes are top tier. Your colleagues respect you. You're fast without being reckless. That's rare. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I'm promoting you to senior trauma nurse. Comes with a pay increase and more responsibility. You'll be training new hires, managing schedules, all the administrative headaches that come with leadership. Ava's brain stuttered. I've only been here 2 months. And you've proven yourself in 2 months. Some people take years to do what you've done. Dr. Chen leaned back. I don't give promotions because I'm nice. I give them because they're earned. You earned this. I don't know what to say. Say yes or no. Those are your options. Yes. Absolutely yes. Dr. Chen smiled. Good. You start the new position Monday. And Bennett? Stop being surprised when good things happen to you. You're allowed to succeed. Ava left that office feeling like she was floating. She called Luca before she even made it to her car. I got promoted, she said when he answered. That's excellent. Congratulations. You don't sound surprised. I'm not. You're good at what you do. People notice that. Dr. Chen said I earned it. You did. Ava leaned against her car, looking up at the hospital. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for someone to realize this was all a mistake. That's imposter syndrome talking. Ignore it. Easy for you to say. You've probably never doubted yourself a day in your life. Luca laughed. It sounded rusty, like he didn't do it often. I doubt myself constantly. The difference is I don't let it stop me. How? By remembering that doubt is just fear wearing a disguise. And fear only wins if you let it make decisions for you. They talked for another 20 minutes. About work, about the apartment, about small things that didn't matter but somehow did. When they hung up, Ava realized she was smiling. The promotion changed things. More responsibility meant more pressure, but also more purpose. Ava found herself mentoring new nurses the way she wished someone had mentored her at City General. Teaching them not just protocols, but how to handle the emotional weight of trauma work. You can't save everyone, she told a young nurse named Jamie who was crying in the break room after losing a patient. And that's not your failure. That's just the reality of this job. Then how do you do it? How do you keep going? By remembering the ones you do save. By knowing that showing up and doing your best matters, even when the outcome sucks. Jamie wiped her eyes. Does it get easier? No, but you get stronger. 3 months in, Ava ran into Vanessa at a coffee shop. It was random, accidental. Ava was grabbing coffee before a shift when she heard someone say her name. Ava? Ava Bennett? She turned. Vanessa stood there in yoga clothes that probably cost more than Ava's weekly paycheck, holding a green smoothie. Vanessa, hi. I thought that was you. Vanessa's smile was friendly but strained. How have you been? Good. Busy. You? Same. Busy. An awkward pause. I wanted to apologize, actually. For the wedding. I know having you there must have been weird for Ethan. It was fine. Was it? Because he's been different since then. Distant. Like he's somewhere else in his head. Ava didn't know what to say to that. Didn't want to be part of whatever was happening in Ethan's marriage. I should go, she said. Work. Of course. It was good seeing you. Vanessa hesitated. You look really happy. Whatever you're doing, it suits you. Thanks. Ava left before the conversation could get more uncomfortable. She texted Maya about it during her break. Maya, please tell me you didn't engage with whatever drama she was trying to start. Ava, I didn't. Just got my coffee and left. Maya, good. Not your circus, not your monkeys. Ava, exactly. But the encounter stuck with Ava throughout her shift, not because she cared about Ethan's marriage problems, but because seeing Vanessa, perfect, polished Vanessa, looking stressed and uncertain, reminded her that everyone was fighting battles nobody else could see. That evening, Luca called instead of texting. Are you free Saturday? He asked. Depends. Why? There's an event. Charity gala. Very boring, very necessary. I need a date who won't make me want to fake a medical emergency to escape. Ava laughed. And you think I'm that person? I know you are. Plus, you clean up well. I have photographic evidence. Flattery will get you everywhere. Is that a yes? Ava checked her mental calendar. She had Saturday off. No plans, no obligations. What time? I'll pick you up at 7. Dress code is black tie. I don't have anything. Check your closet. Christine may have left a few things. When did? Yesterday. I had her drop them off while you were at work. He paused. Is that too much? If it's too much, say so. It's a lot, but not too much. Good. Saturday then. After he hung up, Ava opened her closet. Sure enough, there were 3 new dresses hanging there. All elegant, all exactly her size, all probably worth more than her car. She ran her fingers over the fabric, feeling that familiar mix of gratitude and uncertainty. Luca kept giving her things, opportunities, access to a world she'd never imagined belonging to. The question Maya had asked months ago echoed back. What happens when he's done? But maybe that was the wrong question. Maybe the right question was what happened when Ava was finally ready to stand completely on her own. Saturday arrived with rain. Not a drizzle, but a full downpour that made Ava grateful Luca was picking her up instead of her having to navigate public transportation in heels and formal wear. She chose the midnight blue dress. It was simpler than the black one from the wedding, but somehow more sophisticated, elegant without trying too hard. Luca arrived exactly at 7. He wore another tuxedo, different from the wedding one, but just as devastating. His hair was slightly damp from the rain. You look beautiful, he said when she opened the door. You look wet. He smiled. It's raining. I noticed. The car was waiting downstairs, same driver, same leather seats. But this time Ava felt less like she was pretending to belong and more like she actually did. So, what's this gala for? She asked as they drove. Children's Hospital. They're raising funds for a new pediatric wing. That's actually a good cause. I try not to waste time on bad ones. He glanced at her. You'll know some people there. Dr. Chen will be present. She's on the hospital board. Will there be people like Ethan? Probably. The city isn't that big, but if we run into him, we handle it the same way you handled the wedding. You're not there for him. You're there because you belong there. The venue was a historic hotel downtown, the kind with chandeliers and marble everything and staff in white gloves. People in expensive clothes milled around holding champagne and making conversation that sounded important, but probably wasn't. Luca kept a hand on the small of Ava's back as they navigated the crowd. A grounding touch, subtle but present. They ran into Dr. Chen near the silent auction. Bennett, she said, smiling. Didn't expect to see you here. Luca's +1. Ah. Dr. Chen's eyes flicked to Luca with something like knowing amusement. You two make an interesting pair. Is that a compliment? Luca asked. It's an observation. Make of it what you will. She turned to Ava. How are you adjusting to the senior position? Still learning, but I think I'm getting there. You're doing more than getting there. The new hires you've been training are already showing improvement. That's leadership. After Dr. Chen walked away, Ava exhaled. Why do I feel like I just passed a test I didn't know I was taking? Because you did. She's evaluating whether you can handle professional settings outside the hospital. You just proved you can. They made their way through the crowd. Luca introduced her to people whose names Ava immediately forgot. Business associates, board members, people who moved money around and called it productivity. And then, inevitably, they ran into Ethan. He was standing near the bar with Vanessa, both holding drinks they weren't drinking. When he saw Ava, something flickered across his face. The same look from the wedding, but somehow sadder. Ava, he said. And Luca. What a surprise. Ethan. Luca's voice was perfectly neutral. Vanessa. Lovely to see you both. Vanessa smiled, but it looked brittle. Small world. Getting smaller every day, Ava said. The 4 of them stood there in the world's most awkward silence until Vanessa excused herself to find someone. Ethan followed after a beat, leaving Ava and Luca alone. That was painful, Ava said. Was it? I thought you handled it perfectly. I barely said anything. Exactly. You didn't owe him more than that. They found their table for dinner. Ava was seated between Luca and a woman named Helena, who ran a nonprofit for homeless youth. She was fascinating, passionate about her work in a way that made Ava remember why helping people had mattered to her in the first place. You're a trauma nurse? Helena asked. Senior trauma nurse as of 2 months ago. That must be incredibly demanding. It is, but it's also the most meaningful work I've ever done. They talked through dinner about healthcare access, about the gaps in the system, about how healing happened in hospitals but recovery happened in communities. Luca mostly listened, occasionally adding insight but letting Ava hold the conversation. When dessert arrived, he leaned over and whispered, "You're in your element." "Am I?" "Completely. This is who you are when you're not worried about being enough. You're just present." The words settled into her chest, warm, true. After dinner, there was dancing. Luca led her to the floor during a slow song, and they moved together like they had at the wedding. But this time felt different. Less performance, more real. "Can I ask you something?" Ava said. "Always. Why did you really help me? And don't say it's about Sophia. There's more to it than that." Luca was quiet for a long moment. "When Sophia died, I blamed myself. For not seeing the signs, for not intervening sooner, for thinking she'd be fine when she clearly wasn't." His grip on her waist tightened slightly. "Helping you was supposed to be about fixing that, about saving someone the way I couldn't save her. And now it's about watching you save yourself. Because that's what you've done, Ava. Everything you have now, the job, the apartment, the confidence, you earned it. I just opened a few doors. You did more than that. Maybe, but you're the one who walked through them." The song ended. They stayed on the floor for another and another. Somewhere around 11, Ava saw Ethan watching them from across the room. Vanessa was nowhere in sight. He looked lost, uncertain, like a man who'd just realized he'd made a terrible mistake and had no idea how to fix it. Ava looked away. He wasn't her problem anymore. Wasn't her responsibility. Whatever he was going through, he'd have to figure it out on his own. The ride home was quiet, comfortable. Luca walked her to her apartment door. "Thank you for tonight," she said. "I actually had fun." "So did I." He hesitated. "Can I tell you something?" "Of course." "When I first met you, I saw someone broken, someone who needed saving, but I was wrong." His eyes held hers. "You were never broken, just buried. And watching you dig yourself out has been the most remarkable thing I've witnessed in years." Ava's throat tightened. "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. It just would have taken longer." He stepped back. "Get some sleep. You have work tomorrow." "Luca." "Yeah?" "Whatever this is between us, I'm glad it happened." He smiled. "So am I." 4 months after the wedding, Ava got a message from an unknown number. She almost deleted it. Almost. But something made her open it. "Unknown. This is Vanessa. I know this is weird, but I need to talk to you. Can we meet?" Ava stared at the message for a full minute, then texted Maya. "Maya, do not engage. This is a trap." Ava, "What if it's not?" Maya, "Then it's still weird and you shouldn't do it." But curiosity won. Ava agreed to meet Vanessa for coffee the next day. Vanessa looked different, tired, less polished. Her yoga clothes weren't designer this time, just regular athletic wear. "Thank you for coming," she said when Ava sat down. "I wasn't sure you would." "I almost didn't." "I don't blame you." Vanessa wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "I'm leaving Ethan." Ava blinked. "What?" "I'm filing for divorce or annulment, whatever you call it, when you've only been married 4 months. She laughed, but it sounded hollow. "Turns out marrying someone to prove a point is a terrible idea." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It's my fault. I knew what I was getting into, or thought I did." Vanessa looked up. "He talks about you constantly. Did you know that?" "No." "He does. About how different you are now. How he made a mistake. How he should have fought harder to keep you." She set her cup down. "I'm not here to make you feel guilty, or to ask you to take him back. I'm here to tell you that you won. This isn't a competition, isn't it? He made it one, by inviting you to the wedding, by needing you to see his success. But you showed up, and you were magnificent, and it broke something in him." Vanessa's eyes were red. "I just wanted you to know, whatever you did, whoever you became, it mattered. You're not the forgotten ex. You're the one who got away." Ava didn't know what to say. Didn't know if there was anything to say. I should go, Vanessa said, standing. I have a lawyer meeting. Just thank you for showing up that night, for reminding me what strength looks like. She left before Ava could respond. Ava sat there for another 20 minutes, processing. Then she called Luca. Vanessa's leaving Ethan, she said when he answered. I heard it's been making rounds in certain circles. She said I won, like this was some kind of game. Was it? No. Maybe. I don't know. Ava rubbed her temples. I thought seeing him miserable would feel good, like vindication. But it just feels empty. That's called growth. You've moved past needing his misery to validate your worth. When did that happen? Gradually, then all at once. That's how most meaningful change works. 6 months after the wedding, Ava realized she hadn't thought about Ethan in weeks, hadn't checked his social media, hadn't wondered what he was doing or who he was with. He'd become background noise, irrelevant. Work consumed her in the best way. She'd built a reputation at Memorial. When people needed someone they could trust in impossible situations, they called for Ava. It felt good, purposeful. Luca still checked in, but their relationship had shifted. Less mentor and student, more equals. Friends, maybe? Or something adjacent to that. They had dinner one evening at his penthouse. Nothing formal, just takeout and wine and easy conversation. I'm thinking about going back to school, Ava said. Getting my nurse practitioner license. That's ambitious. Is it too much? No, it's exactly right. Luca refilled her wine. You've spent the last 6 months proving you can do this job. Time to prove you can do more. What if I fail? Then you fail and try again. That's how learning works. Ava swirled her wine. I've been thinking about your sister, about what you said, that you couldn't save her. Don't let me finish. She set her glass down. You couldn't save her, but you helped me save myself, and I think that matters. I think she'd be proud of you. Luca's expression cracked slightly. You think? I know. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Luca said, I have a confession. Should I be worried? Probably. He smiled, but it looked nervous. When I first reached out to you, it was about revenge, about watching Ethan lose. But somewhere along the way, it became about something else. What? You. He met her eyes. It became about wanting to see you win, not against Ethan, just in general. And I think I might have developed feelings that complicate things. Ava's heart stuttered. Complicate how? Because I'm not good at this. Relationships, emotional honesty. I'm better with transactions and deals and keeping people at arm's length. So why tell me? Because you deserve honesty, and because hiding it felt dishonest. He stood, pacing. If you want to keep things as they are, I understand. But I needed you to know. Ava stood too, walked over to where he stood by the window. What if I have feelings too? Do you? I think so. I don't know. It's complicated because you've done so much for me, and I don't know if what I feel is gratitude or something else. Then figure it out. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. She kissed him, quick, impulsive, testing. He kissed her back, slower, deliberate. Sure. When they broke apart, Ava laughed. Well, that's new. Good new or bad new? Still figuring that out. A year after the wedding, Ava stood in the same garden where Ethan had married Vanessa. But this time it was different. This time she was there for a hospital fundraiser. Memorial was hosting an outdoor event, and Dr. Chen had asked Ava to help coordinate. She wore a simple sundress. No designer labels, no borrowed elegance, just herself. Luca appeared at some point, bringing her water because she'd been running around for hours. You look happy, he said. I am happy. Good. You deserve to be. They stood together, watching hospital staff and donors mingle. Somewhere in the crowd, Ava spotted Dr. Chen giving a speech about the importance of trauma care. Do you ever regret it? Luca asked quietly. Regret what? Saying yes to all of this, to letting me into your life. Ava thought about that, about the cramped apartment she'd left behind, the survival mode existence, the version of herself who'd stared at a wedding invitation and felt worthless. Not for a second, she said. You helped me remember who I was before someone convinced me I wasn't enough. That's not something I'll ever regret. Even though I had ulterior motives, especially because of that, you were honest about your damage. That's more than most people manage. He smiled. We're quite a pair, aren't we? Broken people fixing each other? Something like that. 2 years after the wedding, Ava got an email from Ethan. She almost deleted it. Almost. But curiosity won again. The email was short, simple. Ava, I know I have no right to contact you. I know you've moved on and built a life that doesn't include me. But I needed to tell you something. Seeing you at my wedding broke something in me. Made me realize what I'd thrown away. You were never the problem. I was. I took someone extraordinary and tried to make her ordinary so I'd feel superior. I don't expect forgiveness. Don't want it even. I just wanted you to know that watching you become who you are now has been humbling. You didn't need me to be remarkable. You just needed me to get out of your way. I hope you're happy. I hope whoever you're with sees what I was too stupid to appreciate. Ava read it twice, then filed it away without responding. Some apologies didn't require acknowledgement. Some chapters closed without grand gestures. Sometimes the best response was just to keep living well. She showed the email to Luca that evening. Are you going to respond? He asked. No, there's nothing to say. You could tell him to go to hell. He already knows that. Ava closed her laptop. Besides, I'm not angry anymore. I'm just indifferent. And that feels better than any revenge ever could. 3 years after the wedding, Ava defended her thesis for her nurse practitioner degree. Luca sat in the audience alongside Maya and Dr. Chen. When she finished her presentation, the committee approved unanimously. The celebration afterward was small. Just the people who mattered. No fancy venues, no designer clothes, just pizza and beer and laughter. I'm proud of you, Maya said, hugging her, like stupidly proud. Couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. Dr. Chen offered Ava a position as a nurse practitioner at Memorial. Better title, better pay, more autonomy. Ava accepted without hesitation. Luca took her to dinner that night. Nothing fancy, just a neighborhood Italian place they'd both grown fond of. You did it, he said, raising his glass. We did it. No, you did this. I just watched. You did more than watch. Maybe, but the work was yours. He set his glass down. I have something to tell you. Should I be worried? Depends on how you feel about change. He took a breath. I'm stepping back from some of my business ventures, delegating more, spending less time chasing deals and more time on things that matter. Like what? Like you. If that's something you want. Ava reached across the table, taking his hand. I want that. Yeah? Yeah. 4 years after the wedding, Ava ran into Vanessa one last time. It was at a coffee shop. Random. Accidental. Again. But this time Vanessa looked different. Happy. Lighter. She was with someone. A woman with kind eyes and an easy smile. Ava, Vanessa said, surprised. Hi. Hi, you look good. Thanks. So do you. She gestured to her companion. This is Rachel, my girlfriend. Nice to meet you, Ava said, shaking her hand. They talked for a few minutes, small talk, surface level. But before they parted, Vanessa said, Thank you for being who you were that night. I know it sounds strange, but watching you stand there so confident, so complete, it made me realize I'd been settling too, trying to be someone I wasn't. I'm glad you figured it out. We both did, didn't we? Yeah, I think we did. 5 years after the wedding that had changed everything, Ava stood in her apartment, a different one now, bigger, bought not rented, and looked at the invitation on her counter. Not a wedding invitation this time, a fundraiser. For a new nonprofit she and Luca had started together, helping young women build confidence and career skills, turning pain into purpose. Maya walked in carrying flowers. You ready for tonight? As ready as I'll ever be. You're going to be great. You always are. Luca appeared in the doorway. Car's here whenever you're ready. Ava looked at them both. The people who'd stood by her, who'd helped her rebuild, who'd reminded her that being broken wasn't the same as being worthless. Let's go, she said. The fundraiser was successful, more successful than they'd hoped. Hundreds of people showed up, donated, listened to Ava speak about second chances and finding yourself after someone else tried to erase you. Afterward, standing on the balcony with Luca, looking out at the city that had witnessed her transformation, Ava realized something. She'd spent so long trying to prove she was enough. Enough for Ethan, enough for herself, enough for the world. But enough was the wrong metric. She wasn't enough. She was complete, whole, exactly who she was supposed to be. "What are you thinking?" Luca asked. "That I'm glad he invited me to that wedding." "Really? Really?" "Because it forced me to choose. Stay small and safe, or risk everything to become someone I actually liked." She turned to face him. "I picked right." "Yeah, you did." They stood there in comfortable silence. Two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something that mattered. Inside, music was playing. People were dancing. Life was happening. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Ava felt like she belonged in it. Not because someone gave her permission, not because she'd proven anything to anyone who doubted her, but because she'd finally given herself permission to take up space, to be seen, to matter. The wedding invitation had reopened a wound, but in doing so, it had forced her to finally heal it properly, to stop covering the pain and start addressing it. Ethan had wanted to parade his victory. Instead, he'd given her the push she needed to discover her own. And that, Ava thought, was the best revenge of all. Not making him hurt, but making herself whole. Luca's hand found hers. "Ready to go back in?" "In a minute. I'm just taking it all in." "Take your time. We've got all night." Ava smiled. They had more than that. They had tomorrow, and the day after, and all the days that came from choosing to build instead of hide. The city lights sparkled below. Inside, people she cared about were celebrating something she'd created, and beside her stood someone who saw her completely and loved her anyway. Not because she was perfect, but because she was real, complicated, human, enough and more than enough all at once. She'd walked into a wedding as the forgotten ex. She'd walked out as someone who'd finally remembered herself. And everything that came after was just the beginning of actually living instead of just surviving.